help us to like, comment and subscribe to the channel for more of this. At 32, Claire Thompson had built a solid career in finance. But no matter how far she rose, it was never enough for her father. With the annual family reunion dinner coming up, Claire felt the usual anxiety building. This year though she came prepared, with a brand new luxury car parked at a nearby dealership, wrapped up as a Father's Day gift. Maybe this time, she whispered to herself. But inside her purse sat a sealed envelope containing DNA test results. Something that could destroy everything. Let them smile and toast, she muttered. I'll smile too until I don't. Claire had grown up in a wealthy Boston suburb. To outsiders the Thompsons looked perfect. But at home her father, Robert Thompson, was a cold businessman who valued success and status more than love. Her mother, Evelyn, was kind, but only when Robert wasn't around. Don't argue with your father, she'd often say in a hushed tone. Claire learned early that nothing she did was ever enough. Not her top grades, not her leadership roles. Robert would nod and say, why not first place? Or next time do better. Claire had two siblings. James, 3 years older, was the favorite, the golden child who followed Robert into real estate. He was praised endlessly. Her younger sister, Sophie, was the peacemaker, charming, intuitive and clever. Sophie often tried to console Claire. He's just complicated, she'd say. But Claire felt it in her bones. Her father didn't love her. Not like the others. She didn't look like them. She didn't feel like them. Even as a kid she knew something was off. Claire had defied her father's expectations at every turn. When she got a full scholarship to Cornell, Robert frowned. Why not follow your brother to Stanford? He asked. In college she worked 2 part-time jobs, graduated top of her class, and moved to New York with 2 suitcases and a dream. Robert's reaction when she joined Goldman Sachs? Let's see how long that lasts. 8 years later she was the youngest senior investment strategist at the firm. And yet his only comment was, paper success. Nothing real like property. With her recent promotion and a sizable bonus, Claire finally bought her dream apartment in Manhattan. But instead of celebrating, she used her savings to buy her father a Mercedes S-Class. Maybe if he sees the car he'll finally see me, she confessed to her friend Monica on the phone. That's not how love works, Claire, Monica replied. But Claire was determined. She wasn't just giving him a car, she was giving him a message. I made it. I did it all without you. Every June, the family reunion landed just after Father's Day. It was always a display of wealth, legacy and Robert Thompson's dominance. Claire spent days planning her outfit. Classy but powerful, feminine but serious. She chose a navy dress with gold jewelry and sensible heels. Successful but not flashy, she told herself in the mirror. Still old memories crept in. The time she won a state math competition and Robert said, try debate next time. The time she graduated college summa cum laude and he said, finance is gambling. 3 months before the reunion, Claire had taken a popular ancestry test out of curiosity. The results didn't match Robert's lineage. Shocked, she secretly collected a hair sample from her father's old hairbrush during a visit home. The DNA test came back clear. Robert Thompson was not her biological father. The truth hit like a freight train but also made sense. Every cold look. Every subtle rejection. He always knew, Claire whispered the night she got the results. And she kept the envelope sealed. He'll know. Claire arrived a day early to her parents' estate. She rang the doorbell with the small box in hand. Inside was the key to the new car. Robert opened the door, already frowning. You're early. Dinner's tomorrow. Claire smiled stiffly. I wanted to give you your gift privately. He opened the box, eyes narrowing as he saw the Mercedes logo. A joke? He asked, following her to the window. His eyes widened at the sight. That's excessive, Claire. She forced a smile. I wanted to do something special. Robert circled the car like a critic inspecting a painting. Did you lease or buy? What about taxes? This is a poor financial move, he muttered. He took a brief test drive then parked it in the garage, out of view. Thanks, he said flatly. You must be doing well to waste money like this. Claire felt her stomach drop. Right, she whispered, forcing a smile. That night she called Monica in tears. Return the car, Monica said. He doesn't deserve it. But Claire still held on to hope. Maybe tomorrow. The next day Claire dressed with care. As she drove to the estate she rehearsed her answers. Still single. Focused on my career. No kids. Not everyone wants to rush. The house was crowded with family and business associates. Claire spotted the Mercedes parked up front now, gleaming like a trophy. Of course he's showing it off, she muttered. Her mother greeted her at the door. You look lovely, she said, kissing her cheek. Your father's in the garden. Claire straightened her shoulders. Showtime. Inside the estate buzzed with polished small talk. Claire navigated through cousins, uncles and business acquaintances who greeted her with Wall Street star. And still not married, huh? She smiled politely, sipping champagne. Her cousin Rachel pulled her aside. You look amazing, she whispered. Ignore the vultures. Claire appreciated the support, but her eyes kept drifting toward the garden, where Robert now stood surrounded by his business partners, laughing like he hadn't just dismissed her gift 24 hours ago. She watched as he opened the Mercedes door, showcasing it like his own success. He's been doing that all morning, Sophie said quietly, appearing beside Claire. Touring them around the car. 3 different groups already. Claire stared out the window. He didn't even thank me properly. Not really. Sophie touched her arm. He never will, Claire. He'll never see you. Not really. Claire took a long sip from her wine glass. What am I even doing here? She asked aloud. Sophie sighed. Because deep down you still hope. And that makes you human. But Liz, you deserve more than hope. As the group moved toward the formal living room, Claire retreated to a window seat. She watched James boast about a new real estate deal while Robert beamed with pride. That's the Thompson instinct, Robert announced. It's in the blood. The words struck like ice. Claire placed a hand on her purse. The DNA envelope was still there. Still unopened. Still heavy. When someone finally asked about her promotion, Robert cut in. It's a stepping stone. Finance is unstable. Not like property. Real assets last. Claire clenched her jaw but stayed silent. Later in the hallway, Claire overheard her father speaking to an old rival. The car. Oh, I earned that, Robert was saying. Built this life from scratch. My daughter's just now starting to understand that. The rival chuckled. She said she bought it for you after a big promotion. Robert replied coldly. She's always craved attention. I gave her all the tools. Private school's my name. She's finally using them. Claire's heart thudded. He was rewriting her life again. Every effort erased. Every win rewritten as his foundation. Claire stepped away, rage bubbling under the surface. Just then James stopped her in front of their mother's orchid display. What are you digging for? He asked. Asking Mom weird questions about her college days? Claire's eyes narrowed. Just trying to understand her better. James leaned in. Don't mess with the family's balance. Dad built this. Show some respect. Claire's lip curled. You mean keep quiet? I mean stop trying to rewrite the story, James snapped. We all play our part. Claire stared him down. Maybe I'm done playing. Claire's cousin Rachel appeared just in time, breaking the tension. Everything okay here? She asked gently, sensing the storm. Your mom's looking for you, Claire. Dinner's starting soon. James quickly slipped back into charm mode. Just business talk, he said, forcing a smile before walking away. Rachel leaned closer and whispered, My mom always said your dad plays favorites like it's a sport. Claire gave a short laugh. He's a world champion then. Rachel squeezed her arm. You're doing amazing. Don't let him shrink you. The dining room shimmered with crystal glasses and polished silverware. Claire spotted her name card, placed far from Robert and James, next to a cousin's husband she barely knew and a junior associate from Robert's firm. Meanwhile, James sat near their father, prime position. Sophie and her husband sat beside him, buffering the center of power. Evelyn, their mother, sat at the far end, smiling tightly. Claire took her seat, hiding her nerves with sips of water. Her purse stayed close, the envelope still sealed, still full of fire. Robert stood, brandy glass raised. The room fell silent. Welcome everyone, he began, to our annual gathering, and a celebration of the legacy this family continues to build. His speech was polished, his voice smooth like a CEO addressing shareholders. He praised James for a successful new project. He commended Sophie's work on a hospital board. Claire's name never came up. Not once. No mention of her career, her promotion, her sacrifices. She felt the air tighten around her, but she kept her expression blank. She was used to being skipped. As dinner continued, Robert occasionally threw Claire a question, always with an edge. You work mostly with domestic investments, right? Limiting, don't you think? Or, that Davidson account came through your brother's connections, didn't it? Claire answered calmly. Actually, it was a blind pitch competition. I won based on performance. A beat of silence followed. Robert waved it off. We'll see how it lasts. Numbers on paper don't mean much during a crash. The others quickly changed the subject. Claire sipped her wine, the humiliation boiling beneath her skin. After dessert, Robert refilled his glass, his voice louder now with each sip of bourbon. Eliza's still single, right? Mrs. Peterson asked with a smile. Before Claire could reply, Robert answered. She's focused on proving herself, not building a life. Family requires compromise, and she's always had trouble with that. Claire's stomach dropped. Evelyn flinched beside him. Richard, she whispered. But he wasn't finished. Maybe if she'd considered the matches I introduced, she wouldn't be alone at 32. The table fell quiet. Claire's jaw tightened. But she didn't cry. Not this time. Claire placed her water glass down slowly, her voice calm. I appreciate your concern for my personal life, Father, she said. But as you've often reminded me, results matter. And my results speak for themselves. A hush fell over the table. Some glanced away. Others stared at their plates. Evelyn's hand trembled beside her napkin. Robert simply looked amused, swirling his drink. Some people chase status to fill a void, he said. True success is about legacy. Blood. The word lingered. Claire sat motionless, her heart racing but her face unreadable. As dessert plates were cleared, Robert leaned back and stood with his brandy glass. It was his tradition, an impromptu speech before the annual family photo. The room silenced. Before we head to the garden, he began, I want to reflect on the strength of the Thompson family. He praised James for his business leadership, Sophia for her charitable work. Then he turned toward Claire. I'm proud of all my children, he paused. Except the loser sitting at the table. A few guests chuckled nervously, thinking it was a joke. Claire didn't blink. It wasn't a joke. Robert went on, describing some people who chase achievements that look good on paper but lack substance. Real success is building something that lasts, he said. Not running off to chase applause in cities where no one knows your name. Claire's fingers curled under the table. She could feel the envelope pressing against her thigh like it was calling her name. Evelyn was pale. Sophie looked horrified. Rachel glanced at Claire with wide, tear-filled eyes. It was a moment suspended in time, and Claire knew it had to end. She stood up. Quietly. Vividly. With intention. The room froze. Even Robert paused, surprised. Claire didn't raise her glass. Thank you, Father, for that illuminating speech, she said, her voice even. I've spent 32 years chasing a kind of love that was never offered, meeting standards that always shifted. But today, I finally understand why. Her calm tone sent a ripple across the table. Claire looked around slowly. Graduated top of my class, promoted without a single family favor, and became the youngest senior strategist in my company's history. She stepped forward slightly. But in your world, success isn't about merit. It's about feeding your ego. About control. She reached into her purse. Every eye followed her hand. Slowly she pulled out the sealed envelope. Claire placed it in the middle of the table. For years I thought the problem was me, she said, her eyes locked on Robert. But it was never about effort or discipline. It was about something you've known all along. She pushed the envelope forward. Happy Father's Day, she added with quiet finality. Gasps echoed around the table. Robert's face darkened, his hand freezing mid-brandy swirl. James leaned forward. What is that? He asked. Claire ignored him. She turned and walked out of the dining room, straight-backed, heels clicking against the marble floor. The room exploded into whispers behind her, but she didn't look back. Outside, the cool air hit her face like a baptism. The Mercedes sat gleaming at the edge of the driveway, still parked exactly where Robert had placed it for his friends to admire. Claire smiled bitterly. She reached into her purse again and pulled out the spare key fob. One click and the car chirped to life. Not yours anymore, she whispered. She slipped into the driver's seat, closed the door and started the engine. From the dining room window she saw shadows, people gesturing, running toward the front. Then Robert. He burst out the front door holding the opened envelope, shouting her name. But his voice was lost in the smooth purr of the engine as she shifted into reverse. She didn't stop. Not this time. The house grew smaller in her rearview mirror, as did the people inside it. Claire's heart pounded, not from fear but from freedom. For the first time she wasn't chasing anything. She wasn't hoping for a thank you. She wasn't trying to be seen. She was simply done. Her phone buzzed. Sylvia. Then James. Then her mother. Texts and calls lit up the screen. Claire ignored them all, heading toward Boston's skyline like it was a new beginning. The car had been a gift, but reclaiming it felt like reclaiming herself. She reached her hotel, parked the Mercedes and stepped into the lobby. Her hands trembled slightly. The shock hadn't worn off. Upstairs she read the messages. James threatened legal action. Return Dad's property now or face the consequences. Evelyn's voicemails turned from soft pleas to sobbing confessions. Please come back. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Sophia's texts were different. Are you okay? What did he say after you left? Please call me Liz. Claire stared at the phone, unsure if she felt more grief or relief. 2 hours later she picked up Sophia's call. Where are you? Sophia asked immediately. Safe, Claire said. I'm in Boston. Don't worry. Sophia exhaled loudly. Was he lost it? He opened the envelope in front of everyone. He yelled at Mom. She locked herself in the bedroom. James is furious. He's making threats. Claire sat on the hotel bed listening quietly. Did he admit it? She asked. He didn't have to, Sophia whispered. The look on Mom's face told everyone. He knew Claire. He's always known. Claire nodded slowly. So have I. The next morning, Claire met her mother at a quiet cafe in Cambridge, far from the neighborhood where reputations mattered more than truth. Evelyn looked fragile without makeup, dressed in simple clothes instead of her usual pearls and pressed blouses. His name was Thomas Keller, she began softly, wrapping her hands around a steaming mug. We met in college. He was brilliant, kind, but my parents didn't approve. When I got pregnant they pushed me toward Robert. Claire listened without blinking. He agreed to marry me, Evelyn continued, but he never really forgave me. He promised to raise you as his own, Evelyn said, voice trembling. I believed he meant it. But every time he looked at you he saw Thomas. You had his eyes. His stubbornness. His brilliance. She wiped her cheek. I didn't protect you, Claire. I let him chip away at you for 30 years. Claire stayed quiet for a long moment. Why didn't you tell me? Evelyn's eyes filled with regret. Because I was ashamed. Because it was easier to pretend the damage wasn't happening than to confront the truth. Claire nodded slowly. That ends now. Later that evening Claire typed an email. It was short, direct and attached with proof of the DNA test. The recipient was Thomas Keller, now the head of a successful engineering firm in California. She had found him online after their meeting. She didn't expect a miracle, just honesty. Just curiosity. When his reply came 3 days later, it was cautious but kind. I had no idea, he wrote. If you're open to it I'll be in New York next month. I'd love to meet. Maybe we can talk. Claire sat back and exhaled. One door had closed. Another had opened. Meanwhile, Robert's lawyer sent Claire a stiff letter demanding the return of the Mercedes and threatening defamation. Her lawyer replied, DNA evidence is not defamation. She'll return the car. She doesn't want anything of his. Sophia called every night. James still won't speak to me, she said. And Dad's telling everyone you manipulated Mom. Claire replied gently, let him spin whatever story he needs. The truth is out. The real healing, Claire realized, wasn't in exposing Robert. It was in no longer needing his version of love to validate her worth. 1 month later, Claire met Thomas in a Central Park cafe. He looked startled when he saw her. You look just like your mother, but your eyes, those are mine, he said with a soft smile. They talked for hours. About markets, about childhood, about regrets. I never had a daughter, he said. But I'm open to seeing where this goes. There were no promises. No demands. Just two people learning each other's rhythm. Claire didn't need a replacement father. She just wanted honesty. And for the first time it felt possible. Thanksgiving arrived. Sophia invited Claire to dinner at her home. Dad won't be there, she promised. He refuses to come if you're invited. Claire smiled. That's his choice. Evelyn joined them that evening. Her face was softer, less guarded. I'm proud of you, she told Claire over dessert. Not for your career or your degrees but for who you are. I should have said it sooner. Claire squeezed her hand. Saying it now is enough. As laughter echoed through Sophie's kitchen, Claire felt something she hadn't in years. Belonging not based on blood but truth. 6 months after the family dinner that changed everything, Claire stood on her balcony overlooking Manhattan. The Mercedes had been sold, the money invested into a new project she actually believed in. A financial literacy startup for underprivileged girls. Her bond with Sophia grew stronger. She still spoke to Thomas occasionally. And Evelyn, well, their conversations were finally real. Robert, he hadn't reached out again. And that, Claire decided, was okay. Healing didn't require permission. Standing in the wind, she whispered to herself, I'm not his shadow anymore. She didn't need the name. She had her own. Moral lesson. Sometimes the truth we fear most is the one that sets us free. Real family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by those who see you, support you, and love you without condition. The path to healing begins the moment you stop begging for love that must be earned and start embracing the love you deserve. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the story, please help us to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more of this.